Welcome to the Disney Wedding Podcast. This show is brought to you by Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, the only guidebook and bridal organizer tailored exclusively to Disney's fairy tale weddings at Walt Disney World. I'm Carrie Hayward, and each week I feature Disney wedding updates, money-saving tips, and interviews with wedding vendors and real Disney couples. I also cover honeymoons, anniversaries, and engagements at the Disney parks and resorts. Join me now as the Disney Wedding Podcast celebrates romance at Disney destinations. Today on the Disney Wedding Podcast, I am speaking with Disney bride Candace Ehringer about her ceremony at Seabreeze Point with a reception at the Attic and a dessert party at UK Lochside. I thought you guys would be interested to hear how she chose these locations and how she planned everything and how it all turned out. So welcome, Candace.
Hi, Carrie. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for being on the show today. I always like to start at the very beginning and find out how you and your fiancé decided that you wanted to have your wedding at Disney.
So I grew up in Florida, and we would go to Walt Disney World on family vacations. And Erik also grew up on the East Coast and would take some family vacations there. And we both loved Disney. And we moved back to Florida from California. And in the year that we lived here, we probably went once a month to Disney World. And so we were there at the Grand Floridian, and we were just walking by Frank's on our way to the spa, and it happened to be open. And so we just wandered in and started looking at everything. And we weren't even engaged at this point, but we saw that you could do a haunted mansion theme. And we just kind of knew, like, if we ever did get married, this is probably where we were going to do it. And then I joined some Facebook groups to kind of learn more about planning a wedding at Disney, and it just kind of took off from there. Also, all of my family is in Florida, and a lot of them are also Disney files, so it just seemed like the logical place to have a wedding.
So how did your friends and family react when they found out that's where your wedding was actually going to be?
I don't think anyone was surprised, and they were all pretty excited. It's only a couple of hours away for most of them, so it just turned out really well.
How many guests did you invite, and how many were able to make the trip?
We invited 23, and all 23 of them made the trip, but we kept it to immediate family only.
I see. Did you set up a room block for your guests?
We did. We did set up a room block. I sent the list of all the hotels to the group and kind of let them pick the options. Everyone just seemed to like the Caribbean beach resort because the price and the location on the Skyliner, since our events were going to be at the BoardWalk. So except for us and my parents, we stayed at the BoardWalk in villas, but everyone else stayed at the Caribbean beach resort. And one of the nice things that came out of that is we ended up getting 2 free nights because of setting up the room block. One we raffled off to the family, so someone got a free night. And then the other one we ended up using for Erik so he could have a separate room the night before the wedding.
Oh, that's a great idea. How did you guys choose the day of the week and time of day for your event?
Well, we took my parents to Disney for a quick 2-day trip. And unbeknownst to me, Erik was planning to propose on that trip. And so he proposed, we got engaged. And then on the drive home, my mom actually suggested February 2nd of 2025, which February 2nd is Groundhog Day. That happens to be like one of our favorite movies. And we liked the 2/2/2025 number. And it also turned out to be a Sunday, which worked with everyone having the day off from work. So we just decided to go with February 2nd.
Got it. And how did you decide what time of day to get married?
Well, I'm not an early bird, and so I didn't want to do anything super early, but we also didn't want to do anything super late if some people had to drive home to go to work the next day. So we ended up picking 2:30, which just seemed to be like the sweet spot.
I see. Okay, great. How did you choose your ceremony and reception venues?
Well, this is the one place where your guide and your website really was really helpful. I bought your guide before I was even engaged. Once we went to Frank's and I started doing research and I found your guide, I bought it on the DL so I could start planning. And I just couldn't believe there were like so many options beyond the wedding pavilion. We knew we kind of wanted maybe a venue that had a lower minimum, but something that was like just beautiful in and of itself, kind of unique, and maybe wouldn't need a lot of decoration. And we both really liked the Boardwalk Crescent Lake area. So we ended up picking Seabreeze Point because it's just gorgeous. And then for the reception, I saw photos on your website of the attic decorated in a Haunted Mansion theme, and it really had the vibe I was looking for. It's like a small, intimate, unique kind of space. It has an indoor-outdoor space, which is really nice. And it also has like that little lounge with a couple of couches in addition to like the dining tables. And also, it's called the attic, which really does fit with the Haunted Mansion theme. And it's within walking distance to Seabreeze Point, so we wouldn't have to organize transportation. Oh, and the other thing I liked about Seabreeze Point was the weather backup location isn't in a ballroom. It's in that covered outdoor space, which would still kind of give us like a little bit of feeling of being outside, even if it rained.
Got it. Yeah. And that area, it also has this sort of like the courtyard for Haunted Mansion at Disneyland is very brick forward, and that place is so bricky.
Yes. Yes. If we had ended up in there, I don't think it would have been bad at all. Yeah, definitely. The brick does really tie into the Haunted Mansion.
And I'm so glad you mentioned about the guide and the website because, yeah, Disney doesn't list all of the available ceremony or reception venues anywhere on their website or in the literature they send you. So I'm glad that you were able to go through all of the resources in my site and my book to find something that suited you.
Yeah, it's amazing how many options there are. It's like 40 plus. Your guide was really helpful in helping us figure that out. If not for that, we might have ended up like, I think we might have ended up with a wedding pavilion banquet room.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's what Disney prefers, and that's why they don't really advertise a lot of the other. It's easier for them.
Yeah.
So then, did you guys use any outside vendors for the portions of your event that you were able to?
We did. We actually used quite a few outside vendors. We had group photography for photographs. We had an outside videographer, Merrily Married, Prince and Nick. Our officiant, Randy Clark. We used JLB Papery for our invitations and our drink signs. And I also used Spinning Wheel Design Company to create favors. We had custom wine glasses made. And then our day of coordinator was Catherine Martell. And then for hair and makeup, we used Stacy Otto. And except for the Roots, everyone we found on Diz Brides and Diz Prides Facebook group. And the Roots I discovered through your website.
Oh, that's awesome. What kinds of Haunted Mansion elements did you incorporate in your event for the theme?
We did quite a few. At the ceremony, one of the things that we added was there are black ghost chairs. I think that's what they're called. And they have the Haunted Mansion wallpaper on the back in purple. So we used those. We also, at Seabreeze Point, you can kind of do like a chiffon drapery to kind of frame the altar. And we were able to do it in black. And we also added some floral bouquets with some really deep, dark purples. And then also we had flower petals for the petal toss, and they were able to get us lavender petals. And then at the reception, we did black candelabras with cobwebs. The tablecloths, they kind of looked like the Haunted Mansion wallpaper in purple and black. And we also did a cake design based on the stretching room. So on the cake, they had like panels for each portrait that's in the stretching room. And then they even had like a little black spider. And then for the name cards at the tables, we had little chocolate coffins with each person's name on them.
That's great. How did you choose your officiant?
We talked to a few people. And we talked to Randy, and she really just had like this great energy and creativity. And we just felt like we really vibed with her the most, like that she got our vision. She also took time to meet with us in person. And then she gave us a questionnaire, and we filled that out. And we were originally planning to write some of our own vows, but when we read what she created, I was like, this is just perfect. Like, this captures like what we wanted. She weaved in little haunted mansion hints here and there. It had a lot of humor, and I'm not like a super sappy person, so I kind of wanted something fun and light, which she captured, but she also did work in some stuff that really did kind of make me emotional. So she just had like the energy and the vision that we had, and it just really came together.
That's wonderful. What kinds of entertainment did you add to the ceremony and the reception?
At the ceremony, we had an acoustic guitar. And then at the reception, we kind of went hog wild. We had a three-piece jazz band, we had a fortune teller, we had a silhouette artist. This is a second marriage for both of us. So we didn't want to do like toasts and speeches and like first dances and kind of all of the traditional stuff. So I was looking for other ways we could entertain people. The fortune teller was probably the biggest hit of the night. Like guests were lined up for her waiting to have their palms read. And then I chose the silhouette artist because I wanted everyone to have kind of a keepsake from the wedding. And then I learned that we also got a copy of everyone's silhouette. So that was like a nice little keepsake for us as well. Oh, and the other thing I did was I had Mickey Mouse Viewmasters with some vintage reels from places that meant something to us, like places in Florida like Sunken Gardens or Germany where Erik's family's from. And so we kind of did that to help entertain the kids because we had some toddlers there, and those turned out to be a big hit with the kids and the adults.
That's a great idea. Do you have any menu items or cake flavors that you would recommend?
Yes, at the welcome party, the biggest hit of the night was the grilled cheese and tomato soup and the red velvet whoopie pies. My mom's from Maine, so we had to have some whoopie pies. And then at the wedding, I thought all of the food was really good, but the things that I liked the most were the deviled eggs, which we'd asked to be based on ones we'd had at Territory Lounge at Wilderness Lodge. And then I couldn't get enough of the short ribs and the potatoes au gratin. Those were amazing. I'm really glad they talked us into the short ribs. I was kind of leaning towards having a filet, but when they explained to me that they can only cook it to one temperature, so everyone better like medium because that's what they're getting, and then it kind of dries out maybe as it sits there. The short ribs were like to die for.
That's a really good tip. Can you tell my listeners a little bit more about your welcome party, how you chose the location, and if you did a ride mix-in?
We were initially going to do a dessert party at the end of our wedding day, but because my parents were a little older and we also had toddlers, we decided like let's just make this like a 3-day event. So we decided that a welcome party at EPCOT would be a nice way to kind of have like our families meet for the first time and kind of be a nice icebreaker and kind of get the festivities started. We chose UK Lochside as our location because we had such a small group, and also from reading your guide, like it just seemed like that was like somewhere that would have like a really great view. It felt very secluded. It felt like we had our own little secret party happening. We did do a ride mix-in. We got engaged in the France Pavilion near the Remy's Ratatouille. So we did a Remy's Ratatouille adventure ride mix-in.
Wonderful. Can you give my listeners a timeline of how the wedding day ran?
Yes, from as best as I remember. Uh, I think hair and makeup started around 8:30 or 9. So Stacy arrived early, and then Merrily Married came to set up for the videography not long after that, and then the roots kind of came a little bit after that. We did decide to do a first look, which I'm really glad we did because Erik was a little nervous, and it was nice to kind of like spend some time together before the ceremony started. And The Roots and Prince and Nick all said, like, a first look is great if the groom is nervous because it just kind of helps calm them down a little bit. So I think I left the room around noon to kind of start the first look. And then we spent some time taking more pictures around Seabreeze Point. And then Erik headed off to the ceremony, and then the car came to pick me up around 2-ish. So we had a vintage 1950s Mercury Montclair convertible that was so cute. His name's Sophia, after Sophia Loren. And then the ceremony was about from 2:30 to 3. And then after that, we took some photos with the car and along the boardwalk while the guests were escorted up to the attic. We did do a pre-reception, and that was from like 3:30 to 4:30. We arrived back around 3:30, and our room at the boardwalk was literally right next to the attic. So we went to our room first, and they brought us some drinks and appetizers, and we kind of chilled for a little bit, and then we joined the rest of the group. Dinner started at 4:30, and then the reception ended at 8:30. And honestly, I didn't think people would last till 8:30. I was kind of surprised that everyone, including the baby and the toddlers, stayed till we were basically kicked out.
Now that's interesting. So they brought you your pre-reception food to your resort room just because it was so close?
Yeah, and I can't remember if it was our Disney coordinator, if it was Catherine that went and got it, but yeah, because it was literally right next door. They went and got us some glasses of champagne and some appetizers.
That's great.
Yeah.
So when you guys were planning, what were some of the most important aspects of the event where you focused your attention or your budget?
One of the most important aspects, which you kind of talked about a little bit already, was the theming. The theming was like really critical. I just wanted our wedding to like ooze haunted mansion. And we asked our guests to come dressed in their best morning attire. So everyone came dressed in like blacks and purples and blues and greens. And then another thing that was really important to us were the venues. I really wanted like memorable venues that were like just beautiful in and of themselves. Um, the car was also great for the theming because it's this black convertible. So that was really, really cool. And Simon, the guy who owns the car and who drives it, he's really sweet and made a great escort and kind of helped put me at ease a little bit. We almost cut the car because we were trying to save money where we could, but I just couldn't give it up. And I'm really glad we didn't, because like riding down the boardwalk in the car was like the highlight of my day. And then the other thing that was really important was food and drink. Like food's a really big part of my family. And we wanted to make sure we had options like everyone could eat. We have some guests who have dietary restrictions. We have someone who's gluten-free, and we have a vegan. And I have to say, like, Disney is really wonderful at accommodating that. They make sure that there's options available for them. Oh, and we had to have an open bar at all of our events. Although I thought it was funny because we thought like we might save some money if we did an on-consumption bar at the dessert party versus a package bar, because I was thinking, how much can people drink in an hour and a half? But I calculated it afterwards, and I think we maybe saved like $200.
Interesting. Okay.
Apparently, my family can drink.
So then were there any aspects that were less important where you saved your money or just your effort?
Yeah, one of the things that we had to let go was the in-park portrait session. We just decided like that we could save some money here, and since we're local and you can come back and do it in the future, like we just decided to forgo it for now. And I'm really glad we did, because after the 3 days, like I was so exhausted, and I'm like, I don't want to get up in the middle of the night and do my hair and makeup again. Like that's just no. So that got cut. Um, Something that was small. It wasn't a huge expense, but we didn't do like toasting flutes or a commemorative cake serving set. I just figured like we'd probably never use them again. They might just collect dust. We also didn't have a traditional bridal party or groomsmen or anything like that. So I think we were able to save on some floral.
Yeah, that definitely is a great way to save on floral. And also you can get ready quicker because you don't have so many people in your room trying to get ready at the same time.
Yes, and I didn't have to pay for their hair and makeup and all of that. So since everyone was basically immediate family, I was like, who would you even like not include in the bridal party? So
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And I'm also glad you mentioned the park portrait sessions. I think there's this misconception that when you have a Disney World wedding, you only have a year in which to do a park portrait session, but you can actually come back at any time and do that. So that's a great point. A good way to save money if you don't have the money at the time that you get married. As long as you can pay for it when you book it, you can book it 6 months out at any time in the future.
that's awesome to know.
Now, did anything go wrong or just not turn out like you expected?
There wasn't a lot. There were a couple of hiccups. One of the things that we'd requested for the dessert party was a loaded hot chocolate bar with like some cordials available to spike your hot chocolate. And there was a sign for them, but the cordials weren't there. And I didn't learn about it till the end of the night. Like when I was going to get my last drink, I wanted a spiked hot chocolate, and the coordinator offered to go get them, but I'm like, everyone was basically wrapping up. We were getting ready to go do our ride mix, and it just seemed like a little too late, so I just kind of let it go. And this is pretty minor, but the other thing that was missing was there wasn't any syrup for our chicken and Mickey waffles. I guess one of the other things, and again, these are all like really minor, like nothing major went wrong, but we requested to have the red sangria, like the one that's served at the Skipper Canteen in Magic Kingdom, and they got the recipe for it. But when I tasted it, it didn't taste anything like the one at Skipper Canteen. And we'd requested some other food items based on Skipper Canteen, and those were pretty close, but the sangria was, it left something to be desired.
Interesting. Okay. Was there anything that seemed like a big deal beforehand or you were worried about, and then it turned out not to be a big deal?
There was one thing. They had told us for the dessert party that everyone had to be at the International Gateway by a certain time, and everyone had to be there together to get escorted in as one big group. And we had some people driving up from the Tampa area after work during rush hour, and it was really getting to be like touch and go that they would make it. And it didn't turn out to be a problem at all because a cast member just volunteered to stay at the gate and bring them in once they arrived.
Oh, wonderful. Is there anything you would have done differently knowing what you know now?
Yes. One of the things that I regret is we were originally going to have videography at all of our events, but we were trying to find ways to save money. And we decided, like, let's just have the videography at the ceremony and reception, and we'll cut it for the pre-wedding events. But when I saw our teaser, I'm like, I wish I had done it. I wish I had video of our dessert party and our stag and hen party at Splitsville the night before the wedding. And I kind of wish I had video of all of that. And then the other thing was we did one of those vintage phone audio guest books. And despite Catherine like kind of reminding me multiple times to record our greeting before the day of the wedding, we didn't do it. And so we did it like while we were having our appetizers and champagne in our room. And so it didn't get to the reception until after everyone was already in there. And a lot of people didn't know it was there. We forgot to have a sign made for it. So that kind of turned into a disaster. And a lot of people didn't actually leave us a greeting.
Interesting. Okay. Do you have any other tips or advice for future Disney couples?
I would say get videography. I was one of those people who really didn't think videography was important. I was really on the fence. So was my husband. And when we saw our teaser, my husband said the teaser alone was worth the price. Like, I highly recommend videography, especially Prince and Nick. And then I guess my other piece of advice is just go for it. If you're on the fence about anything, just do it. You're not going to regret it. Like our wedding weekend was really magical, and it's something we're never going to forget. It was worth every penny.
That's great advice. Well, Candace, I think you've offered a lot of great tips and advice for anyone who's interested in getting married or having a vow renewal at Walt Disney World, and I appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you, Carrie. Thanks for having me.
That's our show for today. I'm your host, Carrie Hayward, inviting you to join me again next week for another episode of the Disney Wedding Podcast. Past shows and tons of photos for each episode are available on my website, DisneyWeddingPodcast.com, or listen in your favorite podcast app. And for instant answers to all your Walt Disney World wedding questions, check out Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, available as an interactive ebook with continual free updates at fairytaleweddingsguide.com.